So this is the early game civilization tutorial for you and KO Clay. Um, so obviously this is not the Sweden game that I was just playing a moment ago to show you just the basics. This is a game I've been playing for a little bit. So here's basically what's happening. Here's unhappiness that I mentioned earlier. Here's the penalty right there in the big red letters. Take a moment to read that, understand why you don't want to be unhappy. Pause the video here. Okay, so as you can see, this is capital. I've got a couple cities over here, and because my neighbor, the Celtics, expanded this way, I went ahead and planted a resource over here. Now, as you can see, there are different resources that you might not have seen. Iron and horses right here. So, different resources pop up when you find research different technologies. For instance, horses pop up at animal husbandry. Iron would pop up at bronze working right there. The next one that you get, I believe, would be all the way down here. Where did it go? Yeah, here it is. Coal. All the way in the industrial area. That's a long ways away. Right now we're still in the early game, just basically early game strategy. Manage your first city well, and plant another city pretty close to it. So these two would be pretty close cities. And then from there, typically on this size continent, you'll have a couple more countries. So there would probably be someone up in this area here. There would probably be someone over here, right in there. And there probably would be someone over here to my left as well. At least that many more people on here. This is pretty big for just 2 people. And so if you have that happen, like this, take advantage of it. But otherwise, try and build layers around your capital if you can. So, gold, obviously, right now it's a small problem. Science should be somewhere around here, typically by this point. One thing to note is the more cities you have, actually, the more the cost for this kind of stuff. So if you read right there at the very bottom, it says each city you own will increase social policy costs by 5%. And that's after, let me see, this one, I believe. No, this one, representation, where it costs 33% less than normal. So per city you own. So just keep in mind that as you expand, costs do increase, as does science. It costs more to research something the more cities you have because you have more cities. Makes sense. But it is a good idea to have at least a couple cities. I typically like 5 or 6. But, I mean, I've got another settler here, a settler going there, so I'll have quite a few. Especially in this kind of game where I have a lot of room to expand. So as you can see, I've worked these tiles. This is a lumber mill, mines, plantations, with workers. And that's something I didn't really get into with my first video for you guys. So workers will go around and automate will go and work your tiles. Obviously, you can build farms here. Eventually, you'll be able to build trading posts with a different technology. Really just balance what you have and what you need. Different tile improvements will give you different things. Right here, this is a road. Typically, you get that after the wheel. So what it'll do is it'll connect your cities, and it'll actually give you a nice gold bonus. If you look right there, you'll see this symbol right there. You'll see it again right up in here. Second one in the green, 5 from city connections between your cities. That's from the roads. And only workers can build those. Some other things that you might see, I've got a scout up here, kind of scouting. Let's see if I can find him right here. caravans. You'll start seeing those towards early game. And what they do is they will they'll trade between the two connected cities. And so what that does is it'll give you different types of boosts, typically gold. Sometime it might give you religious pressure or whatever. Speaking of religion, this is religion. So right here, right now, we have this many religions in the world. I have founded one, and the Celts are being annoying, as per normal. So you get different bonuses, and I'll show you the bonuses really quick. Beliefs, religion. So this is what I get from my religion right here. And different ones do different things, obviously, for different people. Followers is for you and everyone else. Let me see. Enhancer is just for you, or just for the religion itself. Pantheon is just for you. Founder is just for you. Follower is the one that anyone else any other country gets. But you get all of them. Just keep that in mind. The only time you wouldn't get all of them is if, say, I didn't have this religion. I had, well, let's go and see what Catholicism has. This is what I would get for the Celts religion. I would get this, monasteries, and I would get this. And that was it. That's it. I wouldn't get anything else from that entire religion. So it's good to have your own. These are strategic resources here. So these can be used to build different units. These are just workable tiles that are useful, wheat and whatnot. And then these ones, like this and gold, are luxury resources. They provide happiness. So those are used to counteract that. Really what you want to do is you want to set yourself up at a point where early game you're building your foundation. If you don't do well in the early game, you will lose in the late game. And you want to play with the late game in mind. So keep that in mind when you're building and going to war. It could make a significant impact. Remember, wonders are always useful if you can get them. And also, you start getting access to the guilds. What those will do is they will provide great people points for these people. And what those great people will do, you can either use them to create a great work, which will give you tourism and a little bit of culture, or you can use them to create a great writer. It's just immediate culture boost. So you use them carefully. You also start seeing these things. These are national wonders, or basically ones that you can only have one of, but every country in the world can have one. So basically, they come at their own costs. For the national epic, you need a monument in all your cities, but it gives you extra great people generation. This one will give you extra science. I highly recommend you build that one. You notice there at the very bottom in red, it will say library count still required 2. Lyon and Troy. So that means I still need to build 2 more libraries before I can build this. But don't worry, there's no rush. Everyone can build one. Hanging Gardens, though, is not one of those, but it does require tradition, which is a social policy you have to unlock in order to get it. So we'll play a couple turns really quick, just so you can kind of see what early game looks like. It's not much different from the start of the game when you're just kind of learning the basics, but it's good to see. Sorry, I had to cough there. So as you can see, people are starting to move into new eras, people I haven't even met. You will start seeing these in the early game. The wonderful people. I've built 2. The more wonders you have, the better, personally. But again, be careful because you might not actually get it. Make sure to pay attention to your gold. Roads like this right here, they cost money to maintain. So if you want to build them, you can build them and it's good, but they cost you money. So keep that in mind before you just go start spamming roads to everywhere. Let's see, do I have that technology? I do not. So yeah, we will play through just a couple more turns. As you can see, there's a lot more building options. Each one's going to do a different thing. Make sure to take the time and look through what each one does before you pick it. I obviously already know what I'm doing and all that, so I'm just going to kind of pick them based on what I know I need. Something to note is, see how this Orleans here has a ocean tile, but because it's not, the city's not actually adjacent to a coast tile itself, it can't make boats to go and it can't make boats because it's not actually adjacent to the coast. So that's something to keep in mind when you're placing your cities, is to try and get a couple on the coast if you can. It's not a good idea to be a landlocked country. Markets are good to counteract your negative gold, which I have right now. Don't be afraid to be in the negative gold until it starts getting too bad. Then it's time to actually kind of worry. If you haven't noticed already how my cities are spaced quite significantly, this is a good thing. You want your cities to be spaced out a little bit. The minimum they can be is 4 tiles, and I'll show you really quick how to do that. You can check if you don't know how to count tiles. You can click, come down here and click on hex grid. It'll pop up a hex grid for you, and each has to be 4 hexes away. So obviously 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, on my settler. So I can settle a city here, but I wouldn't really necessarily want to, because later in the game, it's going to be very difficult for that city to grow. But, I mean, sometimes you have to do it, as I do kind of right now in order to keep it even for when I come up here into the citrus area. So keep that in mind as well. You don't just go spam a city. Make sure you think about where you put it. Sometimes, oh, whoops, that was there. That's where I wanted to put it anyways. And sometimes it's not exactly in the most ideal spot, but it sets up a better spot for later, which is good. So now I have a lot of cities. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cities already, and I still have a lot of room for growth. So, because remember, I've got all this space down here and all that space up there. So, one thing I would say, try and remember is, especially if you can close off a small corner for yourself, or you're in a corner, expand outward and then kind of move behind your scenes. So, right here, I know that the Celts can't come down here because I've basically blocked it off. So, what I would do next is I'd actually probably put a city somewhere around that gold right here. If you're wondering on how to pan the camera, you can either move it to one of the sides, move it to the top to go to the top, bottom to go to the bottom, right to go to the right, left to go to the left, etc., etc. Or you can just hold left click and drag. So, up to you really, what you do. Okay, trading. So trading is going to be a big part of the game, early game. Not so much. Typically what I'll do, I never go for strategic resources. I almost never do. Because I can always go conquer a city at some point and take what I need. If not, well then maybe, but probably usually not. Usually what I do is I go across the board, luxury resources. If I don't need the happiness, then like if I already have 20 happiness and I still have extra resources, luxury resources, I'll sell them off for gold. Another thing to take note of when it comes my turn, I will show you really quick. Another thing to take note of here is accept embassies. So once you get writing, you can accept embassies of each other, and that allows you and them to see each other's capital. So I can see everything around, like I would have seen everything around their capital for a little bit. And then they can see where my capital is located too. So, and maybe if I see another thing, I will show it to you. So something to take note in is there are still 8 other... Ooh, okay, here's a good thing. Open borders. Typically useless. Typically. Especially in a situation like this, there's no real reason. Unless you're going for a culture victory, in which case open borders do help. Open borders will allow you, if you go to your culture overview, that kind of musical note in between the pen and the paper and quill and the world, it'll bring you to this right here. You can see your culture. You can swap great works with each other. You can see how close people are to cultural victory, which actually requires tourism instead of actual culture. And then you can see how your trends are right now. So if you look at this right here, you get a plus 25 between the two of us because of an open trade route between us. You get another, I think, 15% bonus for open borders and another 25% bonus for shared religion. So just some bonuses there for you to look at. Make sure you keep your happiness in check with buildings you can build. So what I just did there is I actually just did a route to mode. And what that will do is it'll just send my workers and they'll build a road for me. I don't have to go through and manually do it. I highly encourage you to use your workers and not automate them, but you can automate them if you so choose. You just won't like what they do at various points of the game. That's all. So, let me see. Oh, I was saying earlier before I was interrupted by the trade proposal by the Celts that there's still 8 other civilizations in this map that I haven't met yet. And you can't talk to them until you meet them. The only one I can talk to is the Celts because that's the only one I've known. In a couple turns, we will go over upgrading units. I have a couple units that need to be upgraded, and we'll do that really quick. And then we will end this video, this tutorial. So when you see this is a terrible, awful thing that you never want to have happen. That means my religion is getting fucked, and it's not good. So how you combat that is you can, with your faith that you eventually acquire, purchase missionaries. Or wait for great profits, that's what I do. At this point I would not buy my pagoda because I need the great profit. And here you can see the pressure of your city. So this is bad because they have more pressure than I have pressure in my own holy city. Not good. No bueno. Yeah, that's no good. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take you quickly on how to upgrade a unit. So this is my original starting warrior. Everyone gets one. You see this little thing here? There's 2 requirements for it to make a swordsman that this upgrades into. 1, you need 1 iron, which I have 6. As you can see by the green number there, I have 6. And you need the correct amount of gold, which is 55 gold. So just press that, it'll upgrade into a swordsman for you if you have what you need. Archers are a little different. This one just needs 55 gold. It doesn't actually need a special resource. You can just, and it's done. So make sure you're paying attention to which units need special resources and which ones don't. It really does matter. So other than that, in this video you saw my religion get destroyed. You saw strategic resources, luxury resources, basic resources, tile management, city management, city placement, roads, workers. That's really about it, and a little bit of the trade. We'll get it more into trade at later game because that's really when it starts coming into play. And for now, that is all.